everyone. This is Gail again. I hope you're gaining some insight from the segments we've already covered. If not insight, then hopefully I've told you which publication and tab to assist you on this venture. Well, today we'll cover another subject entitled Dependents. This topic is covered in depth in Publication 4012, Tab C, Dependents. So this is the area that we're focusing on. Dependents are located right below the taxpayer address and standard deduction. You will notice that this area again refers to standard deduction and dependents. Let me provide you some information on standard deduction because this will come up again. Standard deduction is a portion of the income not subject to tax that is used to reduce the tax liability on the tax return or your tax bill, if you will. The standard deduction can be used in lieu of itemized deductions. However, if the taxpayer can be claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return, then the taxpayer is not entitled to the standard deduction. However, the taxpayer will need to convey that information on the Form 13614C, the Intake, Interview, and Quality Review Form, which you've already studied and covered. When putting the taxpayer information into TaxSlayer Pro online, the tax preparer, that is you, will simply check the applicable box, can be claimed as a dependent on another's tax return, and then move on, since the software will automatically take care of what needs to happen next. Trust me, this will make more sense later. The dependents area has space for the dependent's name, Social Security or ITIN number, the dependent's relationship to you, that is the taxpayer, the child tax credit availability for children under 17 years of age, as well as the credit for other dependents, that is dependents over 17 years of age and others. TaxSlayer Pro Online checks these boxes automatically based upon information that's already been input into the software. On this slide, dependents, taxpayers are allowed one dependency exemption for each qualifying child or relative. So here we see new verbiage or terms qualifying child or qualifying relative. Those terms are defined for you on page C-1, publication 4012, as well as in the publication 4491. We will touch on them here. However, you will need to study on them as you move forward in your training. But let's move to the next slide. Publication 4012, page C-1, provides an overview in determining which test must be met for a qualifying child to be a dependent, as well as which tests must be met for a qualifying relative to be a dependent. This slide is a replica of the chart shown in Publication 4012, page C-1, overview of the rules for claiming an exemption for a dependent. So let's just talk about it a bit. Right off the bat, the chart gives us a caution telling us this table is only an overview of the rules and then refers us to another resource, Publication 17, which provides an in-depth clarification. Publication 17 is available online and is typically available at each VITA site in paper format. So, if you're unsure of the rules for claiming a dependency exemption, refer to the Publication 17 or ask your site manager or other available resource person. I have summarized this chart on the following slide. However, I do want you to notice the 5 footnotes located at the bottom of the chart on page C-1, as you might need to refer to them from time to time. Now, this is the chart I referred to in the previous slide. If you will notice, we have tests for qualifying child on the left and tests for qualifying relative on the right. So let me just read through them. test for the qualifying child. Number one, must be your child, your stepchild or your foster child, your half-brother or half-sister, your stepbrother or your stepsister, or a descendant of any of them. Number two, the child must be under age 19 at the end of the year, or under age 24 if a full-time student, and younger than you, or any age if permanently and totally disabled. Number three, the child must live with you for more than half the year. Number four, the child must not have supported themselves more than 50%. Number five, must not have filed a joint return unless to receive a full income tax from withholding. And number six, if the child's exemption qualifies for more than one person, you must be the one entitled to claim that child's exemption. Moving over to the right, the test for the qualifying relative. Number one, the person can't be your qualifying child or qualifying child of another taxpayer. Number two, the person must be related to you in one of the following ways listed in Table 2, Step 2 on page C-4 of Publication 4012, or must have lived as a member of your household for the entire year with you. Number three, the person's gross income must be less than $4,300. And number four, you must have provided more than 50% of that person's total support. Now, there is another chart on page C-4 that specifically speaks to item number 6 on this slide. That chart is entitled Qualifying Child of More Than One Person. The chart helps or assists us in making a decision concerning item number 6. Okay, so let's wrap this up. There are 3 more charts remaining as well as a worksheet. Let me briefly go through each of them. After reading the overview rules on page C-1 in Publication 4012, you might be wondering, where do I start? What do I do next? Well, begin with Table 1 for all dependents. In fact, Table 1 tells us to begin with this table for determining dependency exemptions for both the qualifying child and the qualifying relative. Simply go step by step, reading across to the yes or no responses. For instance, Table 1, Step 5, if the answer is no, it directs us to Table 2, dependency exemption for qualifying relative. In fact, reading through Table 1 directs us to Table 2 in several other steps as well. If the answer is yes in Step 7 of Table 1, it directs us to go to Table 3, children of divorced or separated parents or parents who live apart. My whole point in this exercise is to make sure that you read the steps and follow the steps directions to get to the proper result. Finally, we come to this very helpful worksheet that can assist the taxpayer in determining whether or not they have furnished more than 50% support of the child or the relative whom they're trying to claim a dependence for. We usually have some copies of these at each site, which were given to the taxpayer. This worksheet is found on pages C-7 and C-8 of Publication 4012. Tab C in Publication 4012 is very helpful and is full of information. Use the Publication 4012 for its intended purpose, and don't forget to read all the critical footnotes as they can provide a deeper understanding. Thank you again for joining me. I'll see you next time.